Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for joining me. My name is Natalie Armstrong-Motin, and this is the Marketing Resolution YouTube channel. And today I am speaking to Rob Olian from Chicago, US of A, about his environmental mediation practice. Hello, Rob. How are you?
Hi, Natalie. How are you?
Doing very well. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Glad to.
Excellent. So, Rob, I know that you are no longer litigating environmental cases and that you devote your time now to mediating environmental cases. But I am not overly familiar with what those might look like or entail or who the parties might be. Could you explain a little bit about your practice?
Sure. My cases often involve the government. The government's in a dispute with somebody over anything from whether they have actually violated a law to how much they should pay in penalties because they've been found to violate a law. I've had cases where there's been a consent decree already entered and then there's a claim for stipulated penalties and the parties are disputing that. So I really get involved at any phase of the litigation, including from before it has started to when it's long been over, but the parties are still litigating issues arising out of a consent decree the judge has already entered. And because over the nearly 40 years of my practice as an environmental lawyer, I saw a lot of cases from beginning to end. I bring that expertise as an environmental lawyer to the process in addition to what I think are my contributions as a mediator as well.
And having that kind of experience, like you said, almost 40 years litigating environmental cases, I know that, when I talk to the consumers of our services of mediation or arbitration, I used to, 25 years ago, hear major concerns. Well, yeah, we're not going to hire Rob because he only served plaintiffs or defendants. But our clients are savvier than that now, and they know better. And they know that your 40 years experience, regardless of which side you sat, your ability to be evaluative, your ability to be reasonable, your ability to help people reach a resolution is not at all dependent on whether you were plaintiff or defense. And so having somebody like you, 40 years in the industry, has got to be an immense resource. Who are your favorite clients? Who do you like dealing with the most?
Well, interestingly, that when you said people may think that I'd be biased or something like that, 3 of my first 4 cases when I retired from private practice and started mediating, I was put on the list to be considered by the Justice Department, who I had never worked for. I've never been in government through my career. And so I took that at least as a compliment to the thought that I could bring integrity and neutrality to the process. What I tell everybody when they interview me, and if they express a concern for what clients I may have represented in private practice, is this is a mediation. I cannot make you do anything you don't want to do. What I bring to the mediation is I can help you understand how to prepare for the mediation, and I can help you understand where things are likely to go if the mediation isn't successful. And it doesn't matter which side of the world I was on in my prior life. It's that knowledge and experience where I add value now. I won't mediate anything other than an environmental case because while I'm trained as a mediator and could do a straightforward commercial case, I don't really bring any particular value to those other than my temperament and my approach I think are valuable, but there's a lot of people out there that can do that and are probably willing to do it for less than I charge. But for environmental cases, there are not a lot of people out there who can bring both the skills I believe I have as a mediator. I don't mean to brag, but when I was in private practice, I was in some great mediations and I was in some really terrible mediations. And I spent a lot of time as I was thinking about retiring and deciding what I was going to do next. I started to think about why the good ones were good and the bad ones were bad. and whether I could kind of do something to tilt things toward the good side if I went down that path, and decided that I could. And so I took a course to get certified as a mediator, and things have developed very nicely from there for me. But, so I just think once people are convinced of your integrity and your expertise, that's really all you're looking for. You should be looking for in a mediator, because at the end of the day, they're not, whatever position they may have espoused as a private practitioner, they can't make you do anything. You're not a judge ruling on the matter. You're trying to convince the parties. And if I can't be convincing to both sides, the mediation isn't going to be successful.
Well, and who better than someone like you to help them realize, what some possibilities might be. So do you have a preference for your kinds of clients? Do you like working for the government? Do you like working with law firms? Do you like working with nonprofits? Who do you?
With sophisticated counsel. The government is certainly that. I mean, the lawyers at the Department of Justice who litigate environmental cases, they're fantastic lawyers. And the lawyers I've been privileged to deal with so far representing parties in private practice have all been terrific lawyers, not necessarily from large law firms. They've been very good lawyers. When I first started mediating, I did a couple of things just sort of pro bono, which were very basic commercial cases, just to sort of kind of practice a little bit. And I did it, I actually donated my fee and stuff like that. I didn't feel comfortable taking money even for doing these. And here I had a chance to deal with some, what I would call unsophisticated lawyers. And it's a world of difference. I mean, I think when people come in and, as I said, I bring a lot of expertise that sometimes even these very sophisticated people may not have, just by dint of they haven't had a case that went a certain way like I might have had, and so the experience isn't there. But they know what they don't know. That's if you're dealing with somebody who either knows a lot, and even better knows what they don't know, then I can be of help. And that's really how I see myself as a mediator, is trying to help the parties get to a resolution. If they're mediating, unless the judge has ordered them to mediate, and I've only had one of those really in all the cases I've done so far, if they've decided to mediate, it's because they realize there are some advantages to be gained, whether it's saving money and time, whatever's gone through their head, they're coming to this process willingly. And so what I see myself as doing is trying to help them get, they've made it 80% of the way to that point. They decided mediation is the way to go. My goal is to be, the push that gets them over that last 20% to an actual resolution.
I love that. I got to say, having somebody with that background and the ability to facilitate and be evaluative at the same time has got to be a huge benefit to your clients. That's a really powerful position to come from.
Environmental cases, they're a little different than just some straightforward contractual commercial cases, in that there's a vast regulatory background to a lot of this. And what I believe, a lot of what separates me from, say, a former federal magistrate or somebody, a lot of people that you see in the mediation field now, is that I've dealt with these regulations. There's no learning curve for me to get up to speed on the regulations, on what the case law is. A lot of these cases are Superfund cases where the parties are trying to allocate liability, and I know what all the case law is. I know what the Gore factors are. That's a big thing in these cases. And if somebody's coming into this cold and hasn't ever had to think about these things before, of course they can learn it. I mean, federal judges learn new things all the time when they do a patent case or something, but it takes a lot of time to do it. And if the parties are doing mediation to save money and time, the last thing you want is a mediator who says, give me a couple of weeks to kind of get all this stuff under my belt. It doesn't matter whether they're going to charge you for that time or not. It's just time out of your pocket. And so I don't have to go through that in the cases that I deal with, and the parties know that. And I always ask people when we're done, I try to get some feedback on what they think went right, what I could have done differently to do better, why they hired me in the first place. And usually the first thing they say is your expertise. That we know there was not going to be a learning curve. And in fact, that you probably had some things you could tell us, think of innovative ways to get this settled and stuff that maybe we haven't thought of. And so that's worked out well for me.
Absolutely. Having a mediator that you can leverage in that way is a really outstanding benefit to every client that I'm sure comes into your mediation room. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, I know that you've got a fantastic website. What's your web address, Rob?
www.env for environmental, ADR for alternate dispute resolution. So envadr.com.
Excellent. Excellent.
I pronounce it invader as opposed to invader, but that's how people find me.
Invader. All right. Well, I will put the link to Invader in the description box down below. So if you need to ask Rob for some help or a resource or a referral, just click on the link, reach out to Rob. He's a super nice guy, and I promise you will not regret connecting with him. Rob, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you helping us understand the environmental mediation.
I enjoyed talking with you. Thanks.
You're welcome. Listen, everybody, if you enjoyed the video, as always, I encourage you to subscribe, like, and share. Help a fellow human out if they're in need of environmental mediation services. And as always, I thank you so much for watching and wish that we're all good humans. Bye, Rob.
Bye, Natalie.